Welcome every morning, and we have another happy birthday this morning to Mr. Robert Lee. Happy birthday! Yeah.
37, I'm like a brand new car. Thank you.
So if we can all stand and say pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. So moving on, sent out the minutes. Did everyone get a chance to look over those and see if there were any changes or amendments?
So I'll make a motion to approve the agenda minutes.
Well, actually, I need to do a slight change to the agenda, so. Any second for the minutes?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes from last meeting? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so the minutes are approved from our meeting, the April 12th meeting, from the April 10th meeting. So the next thing is I want to, I will tell you. For the agenda, I would just like to make a small change, that at the end, after we are finished with the public participation portion, if we could go into closed session briefly and just have a quick discussion about principal evaluation matters. There's not anything that's gonna be particularly, crucial about it, but we just need to sort of get on the same page about a timeline. And so if everybody can, if we can just go into closed session briefly, that would be great. So I would like to amend the agenda so that after public participation, we go into closed session for a discussion about principal evaluation.
Second.
Someone actually first,
Okay, I make a motion to go into closed session.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the agenda is so amended.
Ms. Elber.
Okay, so then we can go into the discussion of LSC committees for the reports in their discussion. First up is PPLC Professional Personnel Leadership Committee.
Okay, we had a great meeting yesterday. We talked about MTSS and, well, we're gonna have, what'd you say?
I would do.
Yeah, oh, thanks, I usually bring a computer and pull it up, but. MTSS, we are going to meet as a committee and probably more over the summer, and plan for next year. It's especially important once we see, positions and budgeting and things will be helpful, but looking at programs for, maybe programs for third and fourth and trying to figure out what's best. So, we also talked about, sorry. I'm very prepared. Same thing with ELL. We were talking about having someone in charge of the committee and talking about what how we can improve ELL if needed and how to support kids the best way we can. So for both of those, we're going to be meeting mostly over the summer and taking care of that, as well as working on curriculum and language arts and math, the new math program over the summer, and some language arts. Anything else?
There's a couple things like, getting through some of these, so that way they can plan for what purpose like you said. We're focusing on the project for next year, because we want to spread it out over, you're gonna see right there. Many of our big PL project capstones are all happening now, and over the year, it'll be better. And I think we had a conversation on categories, making sure that our bands are aligned with categories.
So the grade bands are all going to have the same categories in the grade book for next year, so we're talking about, some grades are done, some grades are working on it for next year. So they look the same in all classes.
Great. Anybody have any questions? Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Alper. Moving on to CIWP, I don't think that we have any updates for that, except for what you're going to tell us today in the principal's report.
Correct.
Principal Evaluation Committee, I think we'll have more discussion about that during closed session today, so that we can just really kind of hash out a timeline for what we need to do in order to complete everything. The survey is completed and closed.
The record number of responses, so it's good.
And so we'll just move ahead with that later today. Bilingual Advisory Committee,
So, but, you did meet last month. In terms of, I think the discussion was more about how we're gonna go to, keep going to the meetings for the district. It was a good meeting. Again, talked a little bit about the desire for specifically our Spanish speaking parents, for their kids not to lose the language. So that's one of the things that we have in the works, Ms. Rita, for next year at Saturday school, that have like the Spanish ones, for kids who are native Spanish speakers. So it's one of those things where the parents are talking, you know, there's Greek school, and there's Polish school, and there's all these, you know, and oftentimes for the Hispanic parents, we don't do anything like that. They were thinking about doing something like that. Pretty much it.
has there been any other discussion about working on developing the Spanish curriculum just within the school itself?
Yes, we actually came up with PLC, and it's been on that PLC agenda multiple times. I've been talking to Sunika about that. Given the constraints that we have, which are, really introduction to Spanish and some conversational Spanish, but she wants to change the curriculum a little bit more depending on the different grade parents. So, much more immersive video, like telenovela type of experience for 7th and 8th grade, but we have to find something that's appropriate, because there's some things that are not appropriate. And so we talked a little bit about that. She originally liked one that was for singing, when it was teenagers, but then it veered off into certain things, and she's like, we can't do this. So, but we're working on that. So she has given me, these are the things that we want to do, like a big overview. It's gonna be, she's doing the best that she can with the time that she has.
Yeah.
Which is one of those things where, that I think it would be better. I think this year's Spanish instructor is very, very good, given the insurance. And what I'm hearing from her is it's going to be better for next year. And it's going to expand. When she's done with her grad school portions, she's like, she says then I can do return to after school programs and things like that, where we can really actually have kids speak Spanish on a more consistent basis rather than just want to.
That would be interesting to have an after-school option for Spanish, because you can test out of first year of Spanish when you go to schools, and so.
The biliteracy scene, we also talk about that. So they find people with the test with biliteracy.
Okay.
So I think there's about 7 or 8 kids that are taking that.
Great.
Biliteracy test.
Great.
But those, what did the school do for that? Nothing. It's, these kids are native Spanish speakers.
Sure.
And they just want to demonstrate that they're Spanish.
Right. So the LSC Committee on Diverse Learners,
Their May 18th is the day that their survey they have set up for the library, and it's all over our their website for people to complete this for writing,
IEPs,
Yes. So that's said, and we just had our big autism awareness, and we all had our pretty shirts on, and Mr. Taylor took pictures.
That was
So,
fun. That was fun.
yeah, so we had, yeah.
you were only you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you use a drone?
Well, we tried.
We did get the drone.
Mr. Toledo was the drone.
But there were 15-mile-an-hour wind gusts, so that drone ended up in a tree. So we were like, forget
Wait,
that.
wait.
Yeah, but that was all right, so it was I don't know, what do you call it, Amazon, turned that as soon as possible back to Amazon. So,
Well, I've been driving for years.
that's that. That would be awesome.
Well, I would really like, I mean, I know, I'd really like to give props to the Committee on Diverse Learners because they have sent out a survey to parents and really gotten a lot of good information from that survey about the kind of needs and concerns that parents in the school have about their diverse learning students. And also this workshop is, I know some of the people they have involved that are coming in, it should be a really, really helpful and amazing workshop. So I'm really glad for all the publicity that's been happening about it.
We'll make sure we push it out.
It's a real boon, yeah.
So I know they were also talking about schools, so
Right,
because of what we get binders.
yeah,
It's an extensive workshop. I'll be there just to make sure that I know exactly what's going on, questions.
right. I'm gonna try to too. Can you remember what time that's happening?
I will see you for the.
It's May 18.
Yeah,
Is it
it's like,
May
it says on my
18th?
paper.
But I just
No,
wanted
it's here in this letter. Not at-
Oh, this letter.
oh, I thought it was at the, okay.
So, no. I want to make sure that gets cleared up. May 18th,
11 a.m.
so it's 11:03.
Yeah, so it's a chunk of time because it's a very, it's a dense topic.
This is something that nobody does. By
I
teaching
know.
parents about things, nobody does it, so this promise to them.
Well, and to the whole Thorpe community for being a place where this can happen, so it's great. So the Wellness Committee, I have to say the Wellness Committee has gone off the rails a little bit in part because of my own time constraints around trying to get some work done for that. So we are still, Jen Jones and I kind of finalized the homework survey yesterday. And so we are going to move ahead to that, and I'm discussing with Mr. Toledo when we can actually do the town hall around that. So we'll, well, isn't the 23rd Thursday? Okay. So the 23rd, is that possible? Okay. I'll check with some other people and see if it's.
Of course, we can check.
Yeah. Well, we can also,
That is the.
yeah, May 23rd. So we're looking at May 23rd for the homework town hall and then to get, okay?
That's fine. So,
And I know that we want to make sure that we get all that done before, because I know you're going to have end of grade meetings that I know that you've already got on the schedule, which is great. So at any rate, I think we're back on track for getting that done by the end of the school year. So anyway, 6 p.m. Yeah. So I appreciate
You're right, okay, it's okay if you got it, I'm not gonna let you.
I appreciate everyone's patience with that. And my own bandwidth is a little bit challenged. Yeah. Any other questions about the wellness committee? Okay, great. So then we will, I'll put out some information about any other meetings of support around that, but yeah, there's been just a lot of discussion and we wanted to make sure that the surveys were going to be able to capture the information we need to capture from the parents. So the LSC Communication Committee, any updates?
In terms of updates at this point, after the new high school survey, we'll see what came out of that.
Okay, great. Okay, then we can go ahead and move on to school committee organization reports. Anything from Friends of Thorpe? Anyone sent me any updates about Friends of Thorpe, so I mean, I think that since
We have the May 10th thing that's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is our, it's a fun, yeah.
well, it's Friday,
Friday,
Friday's the time.
Right, so it's Friday, we'll do a consulting, and we will have We're gonna be working on our exterior preparing our gardens for planting because, we are still expecting to get frost. So it's one of those things where we're like, can't buy enough flowers. So we're holding on that a little bit. And we'll be painting, we'll be staging the picnic tables. And also the black, rails on the fence all around the building. There's still some touch up work that's going on that. And then we have to figure out some sort of indoor work just in case, because,
I think the weather's supposed to be okay.
so we hope so.
Looks like money, but it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just
the
really
weather's
good.
gonna be okay.
If not, there'll be a lot of, new tutoring sessions and art projects going on in the building. So,
That's always good too.
Yeah.
So PTA, it's been nice that you were here.
Yeah, just a quick update on the Digital Families event. I think it went really well. There were probably about 50 people there. I got a call last week from National PTA, and they're going to be highlighting what we did at the national event in June in Columbus, Ohio. So I might be going to that, but it's all good news. So that was good. We had a lot of student involvement, which I think made it really just a lot more helpful for parents to understand kind of what kids are doing in the digital world. So that was good. Let's see. I have two items for the board. So I was wondering, penny boards, which is I haven't done penny boards before.
No, but you explained it sort of in the email, and we may have to take a vote on it at a later time because
Okay.
it's a fundraiser. It sounds like it's a fundraiser.
It is, so just to give you a high level, so each classroom gets a bucket or contraption, where kids will bring in pennies, for points, and each classroom is trying to get, a certain number of points. So a penny is 1 point, and then they can also bring in silver coins, which would go towards other classrooms, so they can put nickels in another classroom, and that would actually take away 5 points from that classroom. The idea is at the end of the week, whoever has the most points of your grade gets an ice cream cart. So it's a fun little way to, just end of school year, no paper bills, so everybody can participate hopefully where just get some pennies out of your couch cushions and it's just really low stress.
Except for the people who have to count the pennies, although you can
Well,
probably take it to the counter.
We're gonna take it to the bank, yeah. So that's penny boards. So, just let me know if you need to vote on it a different day. The other item was Step It Up. So, I went to the Illinois PTA convention last weekend. And the senior fundraiser that was started in October. It's really different. It's, there's this very energetic team of individuals who have kind of a ninja warrior, it's like a wipeout. It's like an obstacle course. So what they do, they bring their team and have a pep rally at school. So this would be like the first week of school. And all pumped up and excited about this fundraiser activity, Day of Awesomeness is what they call it. I think all of the students during that pep rally get to actually spin a wheel for some prizes. I think everybody gets a prize that day to get them really excited. And then they go home that night and get five phone numbers for text messaging. And it can be anyone, so family, uncles, anywhere around the world. So they come back the next day and win a prize if they come back with the phone numbers. And then from there, their online platform kind of does it all. So there's 2 weeks of raising funds from the students via the text numbers. They have 2 weeks, and then at the end of the 2 weeks, they have a day of awesomeness. So they bring in this big old obstacle course. It's a 90-minute session for each. There would probably be, I don't know, 5 sessions of 90 minutes where it's during a school day. So that would be one thing to consider, but each, you would probably have 2 grade levels go out at once and go through like a human-sized hamster wheel. You know, it's all really fun. So I'll send the video because that video explains too much. I'm sorry. But it's just a really awesome event, like a back to school thing. There was a school there that had 550 students and they raised $10,000 just in 2 weeks, and the kids had a blast. So it's really for the kids, and it is kind of the pyramid-ish with the phone numbers. But I think it's, you know, I asked how many times the people would be contacted who gave the phone numbers, and it's really just one time with a follow-up, so it's 2 times max. So, question on that?
So the rest is the PTA is recommending this as
Yes,
an activity, okay?
yes, for back to school.
Okay, well then that might be something that we vote on at the next meeting then, does that sound?
Yeah, I think they're starting to fill up because it is so new.
Okay.
The dates are starting to get, you know, committed, but I think because our school year starts a little bit later, we might have a little bit of flexibility. But yeah, I would say,
We have a couple of principal evaluation communities that we have to establish for later in the month, so we possibly vote on it at that, as well as the tours,
yes,
so.
Can you send the video?
yes, I will.
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you for doing all this stuff and for, you know, being so involved on the state level and bringing new opportunities and stuff. So, yeah. It's great to hear new things coming in. That's awesome. Thanks. Any questions? Great. 7th and 8th grade committee? Any dates there?
So far, so good. Everything's going on, and we have, I think June 6th is our class trip that's coming up, and but in terms of fundraising, everything's done. We just get ready for all the events. Mr. Victor is working with the 8th grade team in terms of trying to get even more student highlights. So we're trying to make sure that it really is even the student type of thing. So we're doing that permission. So just see where it goes.
What is that, June?
Graduation is
That's June 6th, yeah?
June 14th.
Do you have like on the trip, are they gonna have like a photo, camera crew or something?
So they don't, we normally take pictures and all that stuff on the montage. So
All the kids are gonna be outfitted with GoPros.
Nice. Because you use that to promote the trip or?
no, we use it, well, this is the first time we're gonna do a Milwaukee trip, we've never done that before. So, I mean, I don't know where we've gone before, I was gonna go, but we've done a lot of Chicago trips. So this time we're gonna do something a little different, just maybe no one knows Milwaukee well. So we'll just go out there and then it was, so we're gonna go to the hard games, and we're gonna take a little boat rides, and I think the zoo's on there as a zoo, and then there's a rain event, like a museum of science. It's a rain, very good back here, really, about 8 o'clock. But I think because you're gonna know.
And it's full student participation.
Well, it's, most of the time we get everybody, like as many as we can. If the kids are suspended out of school though, this is one of the things at the beginning of the year that I want to know. Suspension out of school means, it's very rare to get suspension out of school. Very, very rare, there's only a couple. That were suspended out of school in my class. But the reason that it's such a big deal is because the user activities. Because I don't want fights, and it served us pretty well, you know, for for the last few years. We've got very good. I mean, with some exceptions, but that's not enough. And a bigger trip. That's only one of the things we do. There's a banquet, there's going to be a service day, we're going to be allowed to Lincoln Park Conservatory and help with their gardens and different things over there. Then they're going to the zoo. Then they also have a photo service day here as well. So there's multiple activities there. I don't know if that brings back memories or not. I don't know what you guys did back then. Where was the trip?
They didn't call it service day, but yeah. So we did a little cleanup around there.
Yeah, where did you guys go? Did you guys have a trip?
We did have a trip. We went to where the conservatory is.
Okay. All right, so.
It's actually nicer now, so.
Yeah. So our trip is gonna be fun. I think, I don't know, that'd be kind of cool to see if botanical gardens or something like that. You guys have never done that. No, that'd be kind of an interesting trip. So, we'll reminisce, so we're so glad about it a little bit.
What year do kids do, is it fourth grade that they study online?
Fourth graders.
And they do sort of a US history thing in eighth grade
They do U.S. history,
or in seventh grade?
so they do U.S. history in seventh
So,
and world history in sixth.
okay.
What would you, what do you think?
We just went to, over spring break, for some reason we go to St. Louis for spring break a lot. And we went to the Arch, and the Museum of Westward Expansion is amazing.
Is it?
It is, and then I also think of the Lincoln Museum, which is one of the best museums to look at. So those are just things that are kind of nearby.
St. Louis is always a fun trip, but we haven't done that one, so that could
And
be.
then Cahokia Mountains is right there, which has become a UN World Heritage Area just designated, and that's also amazing.
So if you tell Mr. Coughlin,
He just left. So.
I'm sure that,
We just used quadratics yesterday to find out there's 640 feet to the bottom, or the bottom.
That's right. The whole engineering aspect of it was fascinating.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I just because you can go there and they'll do a little workshop on.
640.
That's right. It's
I'm
a,
at-
I can't remember what it's
Sorry.
square. Yeah, but they do an engineering workshop there and they do history. So
St. Louis.
they do both. They do an engineering workshop and they do a history workshop. So they level to the grade. But it's a really, and it just got designated a national park. And so it's got a lot of momentum behind it. It's a really cool
St.
place.
Louis is great.
Yeah.
It's what is it, 5-hour trip? 5-hour drive?
I mean, it's certainly like on a bus, it would be 5 hours for sure.
So that sounds like an overnighter if you did something like that,
Yeah.
but it might be a bit, I don't know.
There's so many connections to Chicago. Like they really talk about the development of the Midwest in relation to Chicago. This is a different
Do you think
conversation.
parents only because we've done, so, I don't know, fourth grade teacher, is it too early to do an overnight trip with that age?
I think so.
See, I would think Springfield would be fine for kids from fourth grade because that's the state. But St. Louis might not be bad for fourth grade. I know seventh grade is on UTC, but it's
That might be fun. I know that Mr. Coughlin will run with any trip idea.
But Cahokia Mountains, like in terms of like the Mesoamerican kind of stuff that I know Miss Galligan covers, Cahokia Mountains is amazing.
So we're still working out what we're gonna do for our overnight for eighth grade. We have what we're doing, we'll do it at the campgrounds.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up. I mean, just to talk, just for, right, St. Louis is so, there's a lot of cool stuff there. So, and,
It's one of my favorite places to go.
and we don't do a sprinkler place, so.
Yeah, we can have a discussion about that another time. Okay. So it sounds like things are on track for seventh and eighth grade, and that will continue as a seventh and eighth grade committee for next year. So it will be a combined committee for next year.
Correct.
Okay.
One thing that we are doing differently next year is no more fundraising for parents. Like, I don't want parents involved in that. It's just because what ended up happening is we normally end up doing the fundraising anyway, so it's not really, it's a school fundraiser, right? So I want to take that off of their plate completely, like
Okay.
where they're thinking about buying flowers or buying, there's really no reason to do that. I definitely do volunteers,
Right.
but in terms of, coming up with how we're gonna do it and the logistics, most of the time it's the school anyway. So it's just one of those, with our 7th and 8th grade fundraisers.
Right, no, I understand, but is that not putting more work on admin's plate?
It ends up coming back anyway, so it's just one of those things where I would rather just take that off completely.
So you need to like have established fundraisers that you just do every year that are organized by the administration?
Yeah, so that way it sort of gets set up, we know what we're gonna be doing, so we're gonna do a donation sale, we're gonna, and more coordinating the efforts of parents volunteering during those events, because what's happened in the past is there's only been one parent or 2 parents max at those 7th and 8th grade fundraisers, and it becomes a burden on them, and which then becomes a burden on us.
Right.
Right, so that's sort of what we're more looking for, the volunteering aspect than anything else. Just there.
She wasn't choosing the car last time, but she was in charge. What about Mr. Roberts is here?
Mr. Roberts, do you want to announce it real quick?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let me see if she's got any. Message.
Okay, so just, so it looks like it's gonna be able to go into that. So if there are no questions about 7th and 8th grade committee, then, we can move on to the 5-year plan for Chicago Public Schools. I put this on here because, LSC chairs, also, other LSC members were invited to go to Steinmetz, not this past Monday, but the Monday prior, to hear this sort of rollout of the 5-year plan that's been developed in the past few months, by James Jackson, the Chicago Public Schools CEO, and her team. And so this was kind of like the marketing rollout for that, and I can pass this around. This was what we got. We also got a video that I asked the Office of LSC Relations if we could get a link to the video so that everyone can see it. So they have this 5-year plan because there really hasn't been sort of a strategic plan or a development plan for CPS for a long time. I mean, I have questions and issues about the plan as it was presented. But it is good to have a plan to at least respond to. They did get some initial feedback from LSC members. I don't know if you guys remember that there was a survey that was sent out to your mailbox, so I hope that you filled that out. But they also had face-to-face meetings with some parents. I think there should probably be much more parent involvement and getting feedback about this. However, this is a place to start, and so I applaud the fact that there is at least this initial thing. As a starting place, and I will share the video with everyone as soon as I can get the link to that, because it's interesting. And I also appreciate that there was just.
Good morning, everybody. Today is a wonderfully semi-wet Wednesday morning. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Teachers and students, we will watch the weather carefully to determine whether or not we can go outside and play during recess. We want to give a subtle reminder that practice for girls soccer and flag football have been canceled for today. We are sorry you will miss your practice. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we are so thankful that you are here with us at Thorpe. Have a great day.
I know, wow. He was good. You know what? I could hear every word he said, which is great. So two things that I kind of took away from this were just the fact of increased communication. I felt like this discussion around this represented more communication that I've gotten from the district as a parent and as an LSC member than I've seen in my whole time of being in the LSC, so I hope that there was even more communication and transparency around things. And in fact, one of their principles that they are working on is community partnership, and that emphasizes transparency. So we hope to hold the district accountable about that. The other thing that I took away are statistics about the district that are very hopeful in terms of growth and attainment. They're using test scores as the primary measure for everything, which makes me a little bit nervous because I think that's one of the issues that I have with this is that it's so test-based that I feel like we're still gonna be focusing so much on testing that that's what's gonna drive almost everything in schools. And so I think whenever we can and wherever we feel appropriate, giving some pushback on that, I think would not be a bad idea. However, what she did emphasize was the fact that our test scores for kids in all demographics show that as we compare to the rest of the state of Illinois, our kids do as well, if not better. And that's something that's not getting out there about CPS. And so one of the things that she was emphasizing messaging is that kids are succeeding in CPS, and they're not just succeeding, but they're thriving in CPS. And there are things that are happening that are making sure that kids who have long been sort of written off are being sort of brought back into a discussion about what needs to happen. And I did like that equity is the thing that's written all around the apple here. So there was a lot of discussion about equity and making sure there's equity across the board in the school system. So there'll be more information that comes out about this, and I especially want to get you the statistics that compare how kids in CPS do as compared to kids throughout the rest of Illinois, and even in parochial schools and private schools, that kids from the same socioeconomic strata do as well, if not better, than kids in private schools from the same socioeconomic strata. And that's meaningful. That, I have seen in my own comparisons to what my kids have done at other schools versus CPS schools, that the curriculum has been rigorous. And so, at any rate, I think that's something that we can do now that because being part of CPS and things to get even stronger. So I'll just pass this around, and as I get more information about it, I will let you know. But I think that I just think we could be proud to be part of a public school system, where these kind of things are happening for kids, and these conversations are happening, and that we're just part of public school in general, because I feel like that's a real public sort of common good.
Did you mention high schools? Because high schools, or you guys use rankings or
Yeah,
high schools, top 100, I think Chicago has like 5 schools.
right.
Or more in the top 100. Well, in Illinois.
In public
overall.
schools, yeah, in public schools.
Oh,
Right.
Right.
oh, did you say, well, sorry.
No, so I mean, in terms of, because that's one of the things that they need to get out there, because what's happening right now is people are moving because of high schools. And that,
Well, and the thing she emphasized was that neighborhood high schools were seeing this kind of growth and attainment in the same, again, accounting for socioeconomics, that the attainment and growth was happening for kids across the board, even in neighborhood high schools. And she did mention wanting to put a greater emphasis on neighborhood high schools and making sure that there is that equity and that it's not just going to selective enrollment high schools. Those selective enrollment high schools have done well, they continue to do well, and they continue to just get better and better and better. Kids test into that, so you have a base that's already really high performing. So I was very interested to see the data about neighborhood high schools and about how those have also been improving, kind of along similar lines, and that they want to put even more investment in neighborhood programs.
So my students were from Chicago Academy, the parents were in the suburb, and I asked them, it was amazing, it's high school.
Mhm.
That was amazing.
Yeah, there's a narrative about high school that you just have to get out of town for the high schools, and it's not really bearing out anymore.
it's unfortunate, but that is, I mean, most of the kids that we lose, happen because they moving in the suburbs or they're moving out of state.
Right.
I mean, that's like a big number. And when you delve a little deeper, it's like, you just want to make sure that they're going to a good high school. And I'm like, wait a second, because that stresses on them for selective enrollment. And if they don't get into selective enrollment in high school, and I'm really pushing, like, trying to tell our kids, no, your world does not end if you don't get into Lane, or if you don't get into Northside or Deep, you know, it's just, you're just gonna have to adapt a little bit to some really good schools where you're gonna be oftentimes near the top of that
And
class.
that can give you a better chance at college.
Absolutely.
That's another message that we have to get out there. And one of the things they recommended is doing a state of the school address, which could cover discussion of CIWP and budget, which as required, but also talking about CPS as a whole and talking about high schools to the whole student and parent body.
Sounds like a good topic for next year. Just to sort of like,
Right.
on that.
So, because we talk a lot about Thorpe, but I think if people hear about CPS at large, it gives them a better feeling about the school system in general, so. And the more investment we have, and the more people we have sticking with it, the better things we're gonna get, so.
What is the considered home
For us,
at school?
so we don't have a neighborhood school, but most of our kids are Lane and Taft. That's where they, from our eighth grade class, those are the two highest. I think Lane beat out Taft last year in terms of how many kids we sent. By the time principal's discretion is over and all the second rounds are over, about half of our kids get selected enrollment. But the ones that don't, they are still worried, you know, I mean, eighth grade for them, they're still freaking out, right? So part of what I did just a couple weeks, last week, is we're getting a new high school, Rickover Academy, right down the street where Lutheran North used to be. And we had about 10 families from the fourth that went over there to sort of see what's happening, because I'm really pushing that school. I'm saying, I know the principal, I know what a great program he has, and he's just starting out, and trying to get the kids who don't know where they're going to go. Rickover is great. Chicago Academy, great high school. Nobody knows, you know, these are really, really good schools, and there's only about 400 kids now. So your child's going to get a lot more attention at a school with 400 as opposed to a school with 4,000. You know, so we're working on that and just trying to build up the schools around here. In terms of Steinmetz, I had a good relationship with the former principal. Really haven't had too much contact with the one that's there now. I've had some contact with the principal at Schurz. They used to send their orchestra over here every single for Christmas and for holidays. They haven't done that in a few years, even though I've asked. You know, so there's without a doubt there's still some work that they need to do. Like I told them, I said, the kids from Thorpe are expecting this level of performance from you guys, and until you can show them that's the level of performance you're going to be at, they're not going to come. So we've had some very in-depth discussion with that. Even at Rickover, the 10 families that went, one of the comments was, "Oh, their ACT average is only 18." So I called up the principal and he said, "Yeah, but your kids are probably going to be in the honors program. Those guys, the ACT average is 25, 26." So you have to be, they have to know that they're going to have a different type of experience if they're taking more advanced courses. But yeah, that's one of the things that even with our counseling department, we need to really focus on, because when we have our high school fair, we have about 27, 28, schools that come out, everybody flocks to Lane, everybody flocks to Northside and Young, et cetera. But a lot of the other schools are just as good, if not better, for our kids.
And TAP has to be.
Absolutely.
And they also building the freshman campus.
Right.
Well, and it really is true that, and one of the things that Generation All was emphasizing when they came for our high school presentation last fall, is that you really can be a big fish in a small pond, and that can make a big difference for your college prospects. If you are at Lane and you're not in the top 20% there, then it's much harder for you. And so you can really look at what your opportunities are and strategize in a different way, and then end up going and really blossoming in a place where you're going to get a lot of attention. So it's another thing to kind of.
Let's go over and walk up 500.
Who does?
Let's go over and walk up 500.
500, yeah. So
That's a really good number for a high school. You're not going to get lost. just 150 people plus.
Any other questions about the 5-year plan? I'll let you, as I said, I'll release information as I get it, and hopefully we'll have even more.
I think more looking at Fridays.
That's a really good question, and that was one of the things that I asked. They got input. I mean, obviously, it's the administration at the district, the CEO and her office are primarily doing it. However, they did get feedback via the surveys and a few parent meetings. She said that they got feedback from 2,000 parents. I know that their feedback meetings were very few and very sparsely attended and not very well advertised. But, at the same time, I have a little bit of sympathy for that, having, when we just started the wellness committee stuff last year, and we only had 10 parents coming. Things, when they get going, it takes a little while for these new initiatives. So I said that I would like to see a lot more parent involvement and engagement, but also teacher involvement and engagement, because it was unclear to me how many teachers they talked to about it. It didn't really actually seem like their teacher participation was much higher than parent participation, and really that should be people that they're looking to get more feedback from.
I think also the community.
Yeah, in the community, absolutely, I agree. So a lot of their meetings that they have where they ask parents to come, they not only asked community members to come too, but it just wasn't advertised very well, so.
It's the beginning. I mean,
Right,
yeah,
so they said, so the number that stuck out to me was they received feedback from 2,000 parents. So that includes the surveys and the meetings, which is that's not very deep engagement. But it is starting somewhere, and so I'm trying to look at the positive and the fact that it's like,
And there's a.
it's a start. Yeah, and as I found out, again, like as I find out information, as our LSC finds out information, or the subsequent chairs find out information, then I would hope that would be emphasized, that everyone needs to be able to. But this is a start, and I want to let you all know about it. So then we have, if there are no other questions, we can move on to the principal's report. Okay. Mr. Toledo, you want to principal?
So. I'm gonna go. I did share this. Sorry that I shared this so late with you guys, but it is in your email. I'm gonna skip through a couple of things because these are things that you could just look at, and I'm gonna move into leadership and collective responsibility. One of the nice things about the whole press from LSC to get the restorative practice to come from our students has been incredibly helpful. So what we've done is I talked to Mr. Roberts about like coming up with an anecdotal form that he came up with, and he started sharing with teachers, and then we sort of combined it with what the kids have done, and what we've had has actually been very good. Here's as of right now, right? When that form was rolled out, Mr. Roberts, about a month and a half, right? So he started it off the 7th and 8th, and just had the 7th and 8th grade teachers sort of working through it as the anecdotal form. And then we added some of the things that the kids came up with in terms of their menu. And we've been collecting data, and this is about a month and a half worth of data, and you'll see it in your reports. But here's after school detention. It's about 32% of the corrective action is after school detentions. About 36 is the anecdotal, and that's going to be a little skewed because at first we started just as an anecdotal form. So of the 22 responses, I'm sorry. You know what? These are the ones that actually that have anecdotal as being one of the choices. So these are actually the 22 responses that have had the menu. We have lunchtime restorative conversations with administrator that may involve staying in for recess, or it may not. We also have school improvement tasks. I think that's about 5%. Refrain from a class activity, restitution, like money. If a kid broke something, you have to pay for it. So we really think that this is really working, and it's a good way to start, especially since we've asked kids to develop this menu. We still have to work with teachers and students, like fine tuning that, because right now there's about 9-10 choices that they can pick from, but what we actually have is way over that. in terms of selection. So once we actually use that form, it automatically gets recorded and an email gets sent to the parent, and it also gets sent to the teacher. So it's a good record, and it's a good start. It's a good start. So I just wanted to let you guys know, because that's been such a big emphasis for LSC for a while, and it's bearing fruit. The last thing I wanted to show you guys is just in terms of rigorous student tasks. We have our PBL capstone projects, and for first grade, they're doing some sort of animal book project that I forgot to put up in here. Second grade, they're finishing up their chicken life cycle. The intercurricular Soul Hope project is happening again, June 6th at 6.
Are they hatching eggs for the chicken life cycle?
Yeah. So those chicks will soon be going to the farm. I'm not sure exactly what "to the farm" means, but that's what that will be happening.
Yeah.
So, because and if you want to see them before you leave, just come with me and we'll go down to second grade and you'll see them over there. The kids are super excited about it. They've learned a lot about just that, the whole life cycle, and just the expectation of seeing chicks hatch, and it's pretty neat.
Is that new?
I'm sorry?
Is that new?
We've done it before. We haven't done it in a while though for our chicken life cycle project. So the Soul Hope, again, if you're not part of 3rd and 4th grade, you really do need to see this though, because I think it'll be worth your while. The Young Historians project that's coming up for 5th grade. This was a big question for everyone as to what is going to happen with Miss Galligan moving from 7th and 8th to 5th, 6th. So her project is going to be a little different than what we've had in the past. She wants to emphasize research a little bit more, but kids will still be able to dress up. They're going to be actually working in either singles or pairs, and the time frame is kind of interesting. It's going from the 600s. So because she does world history, and her time period is prehistory to medieval history, right? So she's actually going from 8600 to the 1800s, and students will be able to choose great leaders from a diverse group, including race, gender, and such. And they'll complete a web quest, research on that person, develop research questions using primary and secondary sources, answer that questions, and then they're going to work together, dressing up, one of them being the historian, actually talking about the person that they're sort of introducing. It'll be a little bit different, as I expected that things would be a little different in terms of 5th and 6th, but we're really looking forward to it. And again, the nice thing about this is that they're working in collaboration with the entire team. So everybody's sort of working on this. That's happening on June 11th. 6th grade, I'm so proud of what 6th grade has done this year, because their PBL has been an ongoing, second here, what did I just do? It's been going on throughout the year. If you notice our giraffe and elephant and all that stuff down by the first floor, that's part of the 6th grade PBL project, where they're doing sensory walks. So besides just the painting, there's actually going to be sensory items on that wall. There's going to be another one up on the 2nd floor, and eventually there's going to be one up on the 3rd floor. But that's the most visible to you guys. What's actually happening is much more exciting. They're working with students in the classroom. They're working with, like, the 6th graders. They read, I forgot what the name of the book is, about the curious case about a dead dog.
Curious Incident of the Dog at Nighttime.
Yes, right.
We
So
saw the play too, which was amazing.
So they took that on as their first novel that they were reading, and then they started building in these projects throughout the year where they're actually interacting with our kids in the cluster program to better understand the way that they process, and that it's not so much a disability as it is a difference, and it's a significant difference, right? But part of their idea is we don't need to be afraid. We don't need to be. We need to sort of say no. Everybody's part of our class, and we can learn from each other. So different kids on the spectrum are. I mean, we have our kids working with the students in the program. So that's incredibly beneficial for the students that are in the program, and even more beneficial for the kids who are not, because they learn empathy and sensitivity, and they really learn how to communicate and interact with kids that are a little bit challenged at communicating and interacting. So it's been great. The next thing that they're doing right now is they're working on a life skills, the life skills loft. So before we had a little movie set up on one of the lofts. That's changed. Now it's going to be, a place in the home where kids will learn about the life skills that they need in order to be independent. Our philosophy, and this, I'm so proud of these guys because they're working with our occupational therapists. They're working with the experts that are saying these are the things that you need to put in these things in order to be of benefit to our kids. So there have been ongoing projects. It was interesting at our PPLC meeting yesterday. The subject of authentic audiences sort of came up. One of the things that teachers are, I think teachers' question is, well, is an authentic audience just our parents? Do we have to have a big parent hullabaloo in terms of getting people in and having parents look at it? And no, that's not necessarily the authentic audience. The authentic audience can be that class, or it can be someone else working that this matters to them. So it was, again, I just love seeing how that's working. That really is both the Soul Hope Project and that Autism Awareness Support Project. It's dealing with problems that kids can help address. And then I'm excited about the next one. I called it Algebra in Action, but it's the Catapult Project and the algebra class, right, Miss Alpert, it's both 7th and 8th grade, right? Or is it just 8th grade? Is it just 8th grade? Okay, so they're going to be working on, figuring out how to use a catapult, tying it into parabolas, tying it into the quadratic equation, and then trying to hit, what is it, teacher targets, I think?
Yeah, so the winners get to, use their catapults to teachers in the face.
Yes, so I'm not sure exactly how that
Teacher they
works,
selected, yeah.
but it'll be interesting. Water balloons, I think, right? Was that what they were going
Water
for?
balloons, okay.
I think it was water balloons, but is it like teacher cutouts or something like that? Or is it Mr. Roberts standing in the field?
I think it's us, right?
Anyway. Oh man! All right. Well, it'll be interesting. So we'll see how that works out. But again, it's a real world project, and it's tying in like, hey, you're learning about the quadratic equation. This is what the quadratic equation actually addresses, because I didn't know. So when I learned the quadratic equation, it was here's the formula. This is how you solve it. Why is it useful for you in life? You don't know. Right, so this is one of those things that's kind of important. Now I don't know if I'm sure it was much more useful back in the Middle Ages, but in terms of figuring out the catapult thing, but at least they can tie it in.
I'm sure that kids will find a.
So, but it's in essence what it is. And then the authentic audience for that one, as we talked about, it's like, hey, have the 5th and 6th graders take a look at it, see what's going on. I mean, so that they can tie in those math skills to an actual physical event. We've talked a little bit about the whole changing the focus of some of our science classes to say a lot of the stuff the phenomena that happens in science can be explained through mathematics. And can we make that work? So that's one of the things that we're looking at over the summer as well. There's one more thing and then I'm done. Another one of those PBL projects, I asked Mr. Victor to tell the kids to come up with our Welcome to Thorpe video for our new parents. So this is what they put together. It's 3 minutes long, and then that principal's report is over.
So Mr. Toledo, when Mr. Victor gets students to help out with this, is this an in-class thing that they're doing, and through what class, or is it an after-school project, or?
It's typically whatever class he's working with in class.
So whatever class he's doing music with, or?
He does. So a lot of times, there's about three or four things going on during every single class. There's often digital music composition. There's video production going on, and then there's whatever other skills he's actually teaching them. Sometimes some kids are playing on the ukulele, while the other ones are composing digital music or working on their videos. So that's one of those things that you guys really need to see.
Grades that do the,
So this one was 8th grade.
okay.
So, and he uses different kids and different classes for different things, but for this particular one, it was 8th grade.
I'm just curious about the sequence of that. That's all.
But again, this is a PBL project. It has an authentic audience. Our problem was, how do we promote our school to new families?
Hello and welcome, new families. You're watching a special edition of Flip TV made just for you.
That's right. The school even has its own TV channel that features various shows like Eagle News, the weather, where are you going? Sports, educational content, and not so educational content.
And it's all made by students like us. Flip TV is just one of the many programs we offer here at Flip. We believe in student-centered learning experiences that build on the 5 C's of 21st century learning.
Those are critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and care.
These are the things that will make us successful in the future. And more importantly, these are the secret ingredients for creating the meaningful, memorable moments that our school has become.
We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening as you learn more about Flip.
That's all for the announcement. Be sure to join us next time on Eagle News.
And stay tuned. More high-quality Flip TV content is coming up next.
Thank you for watching and consider subscribing. It really helps our channel when you do that.
And hit the bell so you never miss another episode of Flip TV.
So they created a Spotify channel for their digital music. So that's what you guys were talking about. What's happening, that's during class. So this is when they're creating their stuff. And then there's multiple groups doing different things. Students in our cluster program are also part of what happens in that class.
Hey guys, welcome back to Eagle News. This is the weather. We've been inside. It's been raining for 2 days straight where we left. And it's going to be sunny the next day. And it's going to be a nice day this side of the court.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'll be an engineer.
And I think you guys have seen this one.
At Thorpe's Scholastic Academy, proficiency on standardized tests is just the starting point. That's because true education happens in meaningful, memorable moments. These are the things that are most impactful for students like me. A teacher. I want to be. I'll be a music teacher. I'm media production specialist.
Lawyer.
Third students are today's learners and tomorrow's leaders. We are family of scholars and we want the world to know. Learn more at oathorpeacademy.org.
So that's real world, right? I mean, that's stuff that they can actually use when they get out of Thorpe. And one of the reasons why developing that Thorpe TV was such an impetus when Mr. Victor was coming in, I said, you gotta do this, even though he had never done this before. It's because I discovered very quickly that if it's not recorded, it never happened, right? As I go into the principal's office, there's been years of stuff that has happened in this building that unless it was in a yearbook or if it was in a, some sort of artifact, CD or whatever, nobody knows anything about it. So this is one way to make sure that we document what's happening in this building. And the other nice thing about it is there was a lot of live stuff that they did, but they can also pull from a library of multiple clips throughout 400 videos that they have that they could use in it. So that's PBI, right? So just one example, because there's so many different things. And that concludes principal's report. Oh, and the budget stuff, the internal accounts wasn't reconciled yet from downtown. You guys will get both months for the next one.
Any questions? Great, thank you, Mr. Toledo. Great, did you have anything you want to say about? All right, so that brings us to the public participation portion. Is there anyone who needs to participate publicly? Then if not, I'm going to make a motion that we go into closed session so that we can discuss municipal evaluation committee issues. Mr. Toledo, you can leave the room, and actually that means that everyone else can be as well. So can I make a motion to move into closed session?
Second.
So who's the first?
I thought you made the motion.
Well, I said, can I have a motion? Okay, and then
Motion.
you went.
So I'm not gonna be here for adjournment, just so.
That's right, that's right.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Motion passes, and we'll move into closed session.
Let me turn off the video over here.
Oh, yeah.